You're watching 76ers Now by Chat Sports. Jake Chipper here with you. And on today's show, are we as Sixers fans overlooking this free agency addition the Sixers made this offseason? Also, on the back end of the program, Ricky Council, of course, was released by the Sixers about a week ago now, actually, last Friday. He has signed with a new organization, a division rival. So we'll get into that as well. Did the Sixers maybe make a mistake by letting him go? And before we get into those two topics, it is August 1st, Friday, August 1st, as I record this show. And I want to set out a goal for the month of August. I want to pick up more subscribers in the month of August than we did in the month of July. 589 new subscribers in the month of July. If you're one of those people who joined us last month, thank you so much for being a part of the show. How many subscribers, though, can we pick up on today's show? Can we start August off strong as we look to beat that number, as the NBA season will be here before you know it? If you want Sixers coverage every single day, all year round, news, rumors, analysis, a whole lot more, we got you covered right here, so hit that sub button. So, the player we're talking about on today's show, Trendon Watford. Bleacher Report put together an article where they named one hidden gem for every NBA team. Someone who's been getting disrespected a little bit, hasn't been getting the love they might deserve, and they picked Trendon Watford. So could we, even as Sixers fans, be overlooking the impact he could make for this team this offseason, given his skill set and the needs of this 76ers organization? Well, Bleacher Report on Trendon Watford, pretty high on what he can bring to this team. Claiming the Sixers won't miss Yabusele's offense, definitely goes too far. He has more directionality to his closeout attacks, but Trendon Watford is an excellent replacement, especially at less than half the cost. Playing for a team that shouldn't suck, they might, will do wonders for the 24-year-old's overall profile. His grab-and-go chops are fun as hell, and he's an understated foul drawer. He deserves a medal for shooting north of 50% on drives for last year's Brooklyn Nets. The team was a disaster. Watford will also hit threes when they're teed up for him, and he's got the mobility to guard threes and some twos, as well as the strength to rumble with fours and certain fives. Essentially, a winning player who's finally in a situation that should allow him to prove it. We'll start here with the money Trendon Watford's being paid, and then we'll talk a little bit about him as a player, what he can bring to the Sixers team, because Bleacher Report mentioned the salary. Look, for a player that I think could start some games for Philadelphia, but should play big minutes regardless, to get him for $2.4 million this year, $2.8 million next year on a team option, an absolute steal given, again, the age, the upside, and the skill set that Watford can bring. Now, when you look at his numbers in his career, 4 years in the NBA, 2 with Portland, 2 with Brooklyn, they don't jump off the screen, right? A career high in scoring last season, but the efficiency just not really there. Some promise in 2022-23 and in 2023-24, shooting 39% from 3, over 50% from the field. But this past year in Brooklyn, took on a larger role that I think was just too large of a role for the kind of player he is. And especially last season, offensive efficiency has been a big, big problem for Trendon Watford. We take a look at his numbers just last season with Brooklyn. You can see it's just really, really not good. Points per shot attempt, 31st percentile. By the way, the lower you are in terms of percentile rankings, the worse you are. If you're the 100th percentile, that means you're better than everybody else. If you're the first percentile, you're worse than everybody else. So the lower you are, the worse you are. 31st in points per shot attempt, 22nd in effective field goal percentage, 15th in rim field goal percentage, 14th in corner three-point percentage, 26th in turnover percentage. So wasn't really able to score the ball efficiently, and was turning the ball over quite a lot as well for someone who you might not think had the ball in their hands all that much. Like, how is he being so efficient, or inefficient, and turning the ball over so much if you think Trendon Watford's a guy that isn't handling the rock, even for our Brooklyn Nets team? Well, there's this thing called usage rate in the NBA. Basically, it determines how much of an offense a player is responsible for. And we take a look at the highest usage percentage from bigs last season, according to Cleaning the Glass. Look, some guys on here you might not consider bigs. This is just how they classified some of these guys, right? The higher the usage percentage, the more of an offensive burden a player does have. So last year, Giannis, Embiid, Paolo Banchero, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, Wemby, Katie, Alfred Şengün, Jaren Jackson Jr., all guys you're like, yeah, of course, these are stars. These are guys who run their team's offense, guys who take a lot of shots, dish out a lot of assists. They always have the ball in their hands in offense, right? Those were the top 10. Then Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns, makes a lot of sense. Next on the list in usage rate last year among these bigs in the entire NBA was Trendon Watford. Does not belong in this type of conversation. Let's be real here. I like Trendon Watford, like the player he is. He should not be responsible for nearly a quarter of a team's offense as much as someone like a Towns or Randall or the other guys we mentioned before. He's above players like Bam Adebayo, Pascal Siakam, Domantas Sabonis, Evan Mobley, Chet Holmgren, just to name a few. So yes, he wasn't an efficient offensive player last season. The percentages dropped. He was turning the ball over. He didn't quite look as polished offensively. But he had a way higher burden on the offensive end of the floor than he's going to have in Philadelphia, and then honestly a player at this stage in his career should have. Again, no reason he needs to be accounting for a quarter of the offense like some of those other superstars. So I think when you take his skill set, put him on the Sixers, and imagine what his role should be given this team is fully healthy, which of course, never a guarantee. With that reduced role, he should be much better than he was last year. I think he can play the best basketball he's ever played in his entire career. Because take a look at some of his advanced shooting numbers, right? What do you see here? Although he only shot 33% from three last season, shot almost 36% on catch and shoot threes, and shot 41% on wide open threes. What do you notice down here? Pull-up threes, 23.5%. Step-back threes, didn't make any of the five he took. Running threes, so kind of like fadeaways, coming off screens, running, catching, and shooting, not stationary, 14%, 1 of 7. This stuff shouldn't be his game, right? With the Sixers, his role should be this kind of stuff. Catch and shoot threes, wide open threes. You eliminate the unnecessary things he was doing for the Brooklyn Nets last year because they were such a terrible team. He was one of their more talented offensive players. So you reduce his role, you put him where he's more comfortable with the catch and shoots, with shooting open shots. All of a sudden, he can become a much more effective offensive player and a much more efficient offensive player. I also think he's an underrated foul drawer, as Bleacher Report mentioned. He does a pretty good job getting in the basket with his handle, despite, being 6'7", 6'8", this forward type. He's got some, wiggle to him. He can handle the ball a little bit. He can run the pick and roll a little bit as well. He can get to the basket. I believe he was in the 70th percentile in terms of drawing fouls on drives last season, and an underrated playmaker as well. He was in the 90th percentile in dishing out assists as a big. So he's got some skills to him. Again, the biggest drawback or criticism for him, or one of the biggest, has been the efficiency in that outside shot. But I think in a better role on a winning team, you can kind of see those skills start to emerge a little bit better. Now, granted, when we talk about what the Sixers' biggest problems are, especially coming off of last year, rebounding, interior rim protection, doesn't really offer a whole lot in that regard. Now, maybe you can get him to crash the glass a little bit more and make that a bigger focus of his game, but I don't think he'll ever be a great rebounder. And with his size, kind of a tweener, as we mentioned, never going to be a great rim protector, not a tremendous athlete, not someone who has great defensive instincts either. But I think with what he can improve on offensively, when we talk about and go back to the original point about replacing Guerschon Yabusele's production, it's not like Guerschon was blocking a ton of shots or was a tremendous rebounder either. Now, granted, he was playing out of position at the center spot. I think Watford can certainly do a decent job of replacing what you lost in Guerschon Yabusele. And again, he really only cost half the amount of money, and you couldn't keep Guerschon anyway. So I don't think losing Guerschon and bringing in Trendon Watford is going to be as big of a downgrade as people are thinking. I think some Sixers fans, including myself, because I haven't been talking too much about Trendon Watford yet here on the channel, but upon diving deeper into his numbers, I'm a little more confident in what Watford can bring to this team if they get his role right. That'll be on Nick Nurse and this coaching staff. What say you? Do you think Trendon Watford can replace what Guerschon Yabusele did for the Sixers last season? Just give me a simple yes or no down in the comments, and feel free to explain on your thoughts as well. Now, coming up, still to talk about Ricky Council, was released last Friday, picked up by a division rival of the 76ers. Who is it? If you don't know, we will talk about it here just around the corner. But first, want to keep telling you guys about this fantastic deal over at Fanatics on this cut off 76ers hoodie. An insane deal, was $100. Only costs you $45 right now. That is over 50% off. You're not going to find a deal much better than that out there on Fanatics. Chatsports.com/Sixers hoodie. You plug in that link. It'll take you over there. You can take advantage of this deal before it runs out because it is limited time only. And because it's such a great discount, these are starting to fly off the shelf. So get it before it's too late. Once again, chatsports.com/Sixers hoodie. You see it right below me down there. It'll also be in the comment section and description of today's show. So Ricky Council, Shams Charania breaking the news that free agent guard forward Ricky Council is signing a one-year contract with the Brooklyn Nets. Former Sixers wing appeared in a team-high 73 games last season, averaging 7.3 points and 2.9 rebounds. So staying pretty close to home, just going over to Brooklyn where he'll join a squad that, let's be honest, is not looking very good for this upcoming season. But I think it's a good spot for Ricky Council as a young player to slow down a little bit and really focus on his development, owning his skill set, rather than trying to fit into the Sixers team that was really looking to win now and kind of needed him to develop on the fly and develop some of those skills. I think it can be beneficial to be a younger player on a winning team to develop those good habits and learn from some other winning players. But unfortunately, the Sixers team, they've been dealing with so much ups and downs, and he's really been forced to be in there. And he had a lot of promise, right? I liked Ricky Council a lot. I thought a year ago today, he could be a breakout player for Philadelphia. Didn't happen this past season after a promising rookie year. He really just didn't show much improvement at all. He was one of the worst volume three-point shooters in the NBA. Yes, he still has some athleticism, and he can still make some highlight-worthy plays, but just not nearly consistent enough. He never put it together on the defensive end of the floor. One of the reasons he was also released, Nick Nurse talked about this during the season, he asked Ricky Council to be a better rebounder, using that athleticism to impact the game in other ways, and Ricky was just never able to do that either. So I think that's partly why they bring in a Trendon Watford, but also a Dominic Barlow and a Jabari Walker to fill those roles for Philadelphia. And then the emergence of Justin Edwards as well was probably pretty unexpected. Another reason why you feel fine moving on from somebody like a Ricky Council, right? So they do still have a couple open roster spots. Obviously, one's going to go to Quentin Grimes at some point, although I keep saying obviously. Maybe it's not obvious at this point. Who knows what's going on with him? And then they'll have one more spot open. I think they'll use that to bring up either Dominic Barlow or Jabari Walker. But Ricky Council, look, had a couple, really one promising year, and then we thought maybe he could turn it on last year. Unfortunately, it did not happen. But I'm still rooting for Ricky Council, man. He's an exciting player, a fun player, and I hope he does find some success over there in Brooklyn. If you're with me, type RC down in the comment section to wish him some success in Brooklyn, although not too much success. I don't want him to turn into a star over there and torture Sixers fans for years to come. Feels like it happens to Sixers fans every single season. All right, that'll do it for today's show. If you've not hit that sub button already, I encourage you to subscribe and also give me a follow over on X at Jake Chipper. Of course, always talking Sixers right here on the show, but I'm always talking Sixers over there as well, posting a lot of short form content that you might see. We post on YouTube Shorts here on the channel, and then always just talking news, rumors, a whole lot more over there. Eagle stuff as well with the football season coming up. So hit me up over there. Don't be shy, and we'll see you guys next time right here on 76ers Now.